Welcome to our MSc Occupational Therapy pre-registration webinar. So a warm welcome to you wherever you are dialing in from in the world and whatever time it is, wherever you are. So we're really pleased that you've joined us for this really informative session. My name is Hannah Bennett and I'm the Recruitment Conversion Manager for the School of Health and Life Sciences here at Glasgow Caledonian University. Today, we're also joined by Laura Hall, who you've had a brief introduction to there. So she is the programme leader for the programme. And we also have Linnea Franson, who is one of our current students on the programme as well. So Laura will deliver a short presentation to give you kind of an overview of the programme, followed by an opportunity to ask any questions that you may have. You can ask these to either Linnea or to Laura as well. So please feel free to post your questions at any time using the public chat platform, which is what I was writing in to be able to speak to you all about the wee delay we had. And we'll do our best to answer as many as we can during the Q&A session. Just a quick note to say as well that today's session is being recorded and we will share the recording and presentation slides with you afterwards. So you'll have everything that you need to refer back to. So I'm going to hand over to Laura just now. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Hannah. That's great. So yeah, welcome everybody. It's great to see some of you here to hear about our MSc pre-registration in Occupational Therapy. So as Hannah says, my name's Laura Hall and I'm the programme leader for our Occupational Therapy Masters programme. So I'm going to take you through a little bit of what you can expect if you were to come and study with us here at Glasgow Caledonian University. Just to say, I imagine we've got a mixture of people here, so some of you might already be quite set on the idea that you're coming to study with us and you're here for a bit more information, but we might equally have people here who maybe haven't yet decided, who haven't quite applied yet, even they're just at the early stage of a decision. So some information might be more relevant or less depending on what stage you're at, but I'm going to take you through it as long as I can figure out how to work through my slides. There we go. So I suppose just to start off, some of you might well be really familiar and know that occupational therapy is definitely the career for you, but you may also be a wee bit less sure. So I thought it's helpful just to maybe give a bit of an introduction of what is occupational therapy, because it's not always very well understood. So we're a health and social care profession that basically just looks at what human beings do, what they need to do, what they're able to do in their lives, how they spend their time, and seeing that how we spend our time is really fundamental to our health and well-being. So therefore, we're looking at trying to improve people's health and well-being by looking at the things that they do in their lives. So that can include, having an understanding of physical and mental health, so good health and not so good health, and what that means. How our environment impacts on what we're able to do and how that reflects into our health and well-being, and how we engage in activities and how they can impact on our health and well-being. So we're really looking at kind of the whole person. So it gives us a real opportunity to work with people, help people to live the best lives that they can. So we're really interested in helping people overcome any challenges that they might have within their lives to help them sort of do as much as they're able to. And that can include looking at their personal care, education, work, hobbies, looking after their home and more. It's really a kind of a very interesting and diverse profession that gives you lots of opportunities if you're able to go on and qualify as an occupational therapist. I myself am an occupational therapist and I had about 10 years of working in clinical practice in the National Health Service in the UK across different areas. But as occupational therapists, we can work in all sorts of different settings. We can work in hospitals, GP practices, more traditional kind of healthcare teams, but also schools, prisons, nursing homes, day centres, all kinds of different places. And the client groups we can work with really range across the full lifespan. So we can work right from kind of newborn babies through to people at the end of their lives and everything in between, and for all different reasons that they might be having issues with the things that they want and need to be able to do in their lives. That might be impacting their health and well-being. So we can really work with anybody to try and help them live the best lives that they're able to. So hopefully, if you're already thinking about it, that helps to kind of inspire you that this is right for you, or maybe helps if you were not so sure, just to have a bit of an insight. If you're to come and study occupational therapy with us, it's important that you know what the programme is going to look like. So it is a 2-year programme, so it's a master's accelerated programme. So in the UK, certainly it's possible to become an occupational therapist with an undergraduate degree, but that involves the usual length of an undergraduate degree. So this is an accelerated 2-year programme that takes place over 6 trimesters. You might be more familiar with the semester approach that other universities might have, but here we have 3 of them in a year, so we refer to them as trimesters. So there's 6 trimesters across the 2 years. And our programme starts each January. So every January we have a new intake of students that are with us for 2 years. And we take in about 40 students each year. And that's a mixture of different backgrounds in terms of what they've studied before, but also where they're from. So we have a number of Scottish students that join us. We also have students that come from a bit further afield, so other parts of the UK or from Ireland or other areas of Europe and beyond. So Linnea that's with us today is from Canada, so hearing about that, and we have a number of students join us from Canada and other parts of the world as well. Within the 2 years of the programme, you also get to complete 1,000 hours of practice education placements. So that's going out into health and social care settings to learn about practice. And we'll hear a bit more about that later on, but that's split across 4 placements over the 2 years. Importantly, if you want to work as an occupational therapist, we are registered, we're approved by the Health and Care Professions Council in the UK. So what that means is on graduating from our programme, you can become a registered occupational therapist in the UK. And beyond that, we're also accredited by the World Federation of Occupational Therapists through our professional body in the UK. And what that means is we meet the global standards for occupational therapy education as well. So if you want to think about working as an occupational therapist in another part of the world, this programme would allow you access to looking at registering as an occupational therapist elsewhere. So again, some of you may have already applied, but if not, just to give you a bit of insight into our entry requirements. So we're looking for applicants to have an honours degree in the UK, what's referred to as the second class lower division or above, so a 2-2 or above, and then that can translate out if you are an international student to what that looks like elsewhere. And we're also looking for you to have completed your undergraduate degree within 10 years of when you're expecting to join our programme. And we do look at applications from graduates of any discipline. So we're not specifically looking for kind of science degrees coming in. And actually, that's something that I really love about the programme and about the students that we get. We have a real diversity of backgrounds that the students have studied before. So we get, people have studied languages, arts, science, all kinds of different disciplines before they come to us. And so they all bring different knowledge and ideas into their work and the programme, and it can all be relevant. So it's open to anybody, as long as it's at that 2-2 or above within the last 10 years. And in terms of our entry requirements, it's also just important to know that your personal statement is really important when it comes to applying. So we are really looking for you to show in your personal statement why you want to study occupational therapy and why you want to do it at Glasgow Caledonian University. So we're looking for you to tell us about your reasons for your interest in occupational therapy, what you understand of the unique role of our profession, and that could potentially include if you've had any contact with occupational therapists, and that can be across a range of different experiences. So that could be through a different job role that you've had or a volunteering role you've had, or potentially through your personal life as well. If loved ones have maybe required occupational therapy input, that can also be relevant to tell us about if you're comfortable. And we're looking for any knowledge or experience of working with individuals, groups or communities that are relevant to the diverse sort of nature of occupational therapy. And like I've said, we can really work with people across the lifespan, but we're looking for some sort of experience or understanding of working with people who may have kind of physical or mental health issues, and whatever that sort of looks like. Again, it could be personal work or voluntary capacity. And just generally for you to tell us about your personal attributes as well that are relevant to occupational therapy. So what that looks like, what your understanding of the expectations of the professions are, and how you think you could meet that with your own personal attributes. And also if you can tell us a bit about kind of, why you want to study at GCU, but then what would you like to do? What are your aspirations for once you graduate? How do you think that this programme is going to help you achieve that? And if you're an international student, also useful if you can tell us a bit about why you want to come and study in the UK or in Scotland particularly. So that's the kinds of things to think about when it comes to writing your personal statement. So we'll get in a bit more to the specifics of the programme now. So like I've said, it's a 2-year programme split across these 6 trimesters. So this just gives you a bit of an overview of it. So I'm not going to go through this in great detail. This is just to give you a bit of a sense of what you can expect, because this is often kind of questions that we get is, what the timetabling might look like, how much you might be required to attend for different things. So it does very much vary across the years. So the first year of the programme, your first trimester, you start in the January and it runs through to about May time. And for that one, it's all sort of classroom on campus learning. So you've got a number of different modules there that you're coming onto campus to learn some of the foundational knowledge that is needed for occupational therapy practice. And then your second trimester, which is over the summer of the first year, that's a placement, and it's a full-time placement. So you get to go out and apply what you've learned from your first trimester by going out and working in a health or social care setting and seeing what occupational therapy might offer there. And then the final trimester of the first year is a bit of a mixture. So you've got a part-time placement, so 3 days a week, and then you've also got some academic modules that you're doing at the same time as well. So you come into campus 1 day a week and then you're out in placement for the other days. So a bit of a mixture. And then year 2 is similar, but kind of almost in reverse. So you've got a bit of a mix again of what you're doing in terms of placement and other requirements. And the other thing, just to say, for year 2 is you also have your dissertation to complete, and that runs along the whole of the second year. So that's a kind of long, thin module that you're doing your dissertation. So that's an opportunity to engage in some sort of research relevant to something that you're interested in. So you'll get a choice of topics that you can undertake, and you will have had an idea of developing interest through what you've done in year 1, that you can then take that into your dissertation and really dive into that in more depth. So there is more there if you want to have a bit of a read, but I'm not going to take you through all of the details. So we'll move on to give you a bit more of a fun insight into what it might look like to come and study occupational therapy with us. So these are just some pictures from recent times of our students undertaking different activities during the programme. So, there is a lot of classroom learning through the academic modules, but where we can, we really do try and make that as practical and as real life based and as, related to practice as we can. So, even within classrooms, you'll be, hearing about different case studies that have been brought from different areas of practice. And you'll be working with other students, working in small groups to really explore what might you do in this situation. If you have this particular individual with these needs, what might we do to try and help them? So there's lots of kind of practical, engaging activities to think about practice there. But we also get to do some hands-on stuff as well. So the other, the sort of top right picture is the students on campus going and exploring it for accessibility for wheelchair use. And actually, Linnea was just taking part in that activity last Friday, but this picture was from a previous year. So, that can be part of what our role is as occupational therapists, is thinking about how the environment might allow or restrict somebody to be able to do the things they want and need to be able to do. So going out and assessing the campus is a one way of learning about that. And then at the bottom left, we've got students kind of learning about, engaging in some sort of activity, some sort of game, but what are the requirements of that? Kind of what is the movement and the sort of additional requirements that we need to be able to do something like that so we could help somebody if they're having difficulty. And the other picture down at the bottom right is a field trip that we get in year 2 of the programme, where we go to the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service. And that's because we're learning more about kind of risk and how we can help minimise risk in people's lives and the things that they're doing. And in particular, in that session, we're learning about fire risk. And if we're going into vulnerable people's homes, how do we kind of help to minimise potential risks within that environment in relation to fire? So we get really practical stuff alongside the fire service there within their simulated environments. And just to say as well, they're not specifically pictured here, but we do have some simulated environments within the university campus as well. So we have a simulated ward that we use. So we do a lot of practical things, developing skills around interviewing and assessing patients within a ward environment. So we can use that within classes within the campus area. And we've also got a simulated home. So we've got a number of different rooms within the home. So you can go into kind of somebody's bedroom or bathroom and again, practice sort of assessing and thinking about how we might support them if they're having difficulties within those real life spaces. So they're on campus, so you're doing it with other students, you're learning in a safe way before you go out and do that with real life patients. So it's a good way of learning in a really kind of safe and supported manner. And something else that everybody's always interested in finding out about when thinking about coming to study a programme like this is your practice-based learning opportunities, so placement and what that might look like. So as I've mentioned, we've got 4 placements across the 2 years, And each one of those 4 placements will be in a completely different setting. So you will move to a different health or social care team to work with staff there and develop an understanding of how to work and support the patients or the clients that access those services. So we do use NHS, Scotland placements, but we use much more than that. So you could expect to be in hospitals or clinical settings, but you can also be expected to be out in community teams, going into people's homes, meeting people through different means. And we also work with a number of charitable organisations as well to offer placements in different settings, so that you get to really experience working with people with a wide range of different needs. And what we're looking for across the placements is making sure you're working with different client groups, different people across those different placements. So you're really building your knowledge and skills across the 4 placements. And we do get to use opportunities from across Scotland, which really kind of opens up some really interesting opportunities for your placements. So I'm not going to read all of these out, but they're there for you. But these are some quotes that we've gathered from students just in the last kind of year or so in terms of feedback that have been collected through different means. And I think, I guess the kind of main things to highlight is, well, everybody always enjoys placement. That's always a highlight for people, of kind of, a way that you actually get to go and apply what you're learning out in practice. But also there are some other positives as well. One of them being the staff team. We do get consistent feedback that our students find us really supportive and encouraging and approachable, and we're really proud that our students consistently report that about us, and we do work hard to try and support our students as best we can. But also the facilities, the support more widely, and also just the opportunity to really get to know other students and make friends and build connections, and particularly for those students that move maybe from outside of Glasgow to come and study with us, just what a positive experience that can be. So that gives you a bit of an insight into how our students view that. And these are just a couple of links if you want to kind of access or know a little bit more. The top one there was a podcast that was recorded in the last year, that it was a couple of our occupational therapy students, so Rosie, who's from Canada, and Blessing, who came from Nigeria, specifically talking about their experience of kind of moving to Scotland to undertake the programme. But there's some really useful insights in there as well about their experience of the programme. So I think if you're coming to study with us, it's nice just to hear that and get that insight from people who have gone through it, just to give you a bit of a sense of it. And the other thing, you can also undertake a virtual tour of our campus, and that is guided by the wonderful Linnea, who's also with me today. But you can actually go around and see some of the spaces that I've referred to today, and Linnea will kind of talk you through it in the recordings that there are there of what would happen in those different spaces, which again, I think is just nice. If you're thinking of, coming back to university, it can be a big life change potentially. So I think anything that just helps you know what you're preparing for, it can always be valuable. So that's available for you if you want to take a note of the links or the QR codes to access that. And I am going to stop talking soon and come to sort of any questions that you might have. But just to let you know, there are ways that you can also get in touch with us or find out more of what's going on from our team. So we do have an occupational therapy admissions inbox specifically, so you can email that email address at top if you have something really specific about the programme that you would like to find out. Then Amy, who's our admissions lead, who unfortunately couldn't be with us today, but she will keep an eye on that email inbox. So if you have questions, you can send them there. Or you can also email me directly. So that's my email address down at the bottom. And we do also have a team Instagram account. So if you want to follow us and see, kind of get an idea of things that are going on, then you're very welcome to do that too. But what I would love is just, I suppose, to see what questions there are and anything that we can answer for you, and also to give Linnea a chance to talk as well, and maybe share a bit of her experiences. And you can maybe even tell from where she is and what she's wearing that she's actually on placement at the moment. So hopefully we can hear a bit. I suppose before we maybe come to the questions in the chat, I will take a wee look. But Linnea, I wonder just if you're able to maybe just tell us a bit about your experience and what you've really enjoyed about the programme so far.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation, Laura. It was a very good overview of what's offered, I can confirm. And like Laura said, I'm on placement, so it's nice to join you guys remotely from the hospital here. I think you mentioned it, Laura, but I'm an international student from Canada. And And I think for me, one of the biggest pros from the program was just how welcoming and supportive the community is. I think right from the get-go, I really had a good sense of the lecturers and the staff at the school. They're all very supportive, open to your feedback, and very welcoming. So I think that made the transition from Canada to Scotland a lot easier. I know starting that new chapter can be quite daunting, but I think just having that community around you really helps. And I think, as Laura mentioned in the presentation, the program really blends the academic theory with hands-on experience. So that's really helped me see different angles and different practice settings within occupational therapy. And I think that's been both grounding from an academic perspective, but then also really exciting to go into those practice environments and actually see it for yourself. And then one of the things I wanted to mention, Laura, as well, is just the focus on occupational justice. I think that's been sort of a new thing for me to explore and learn in the program, and I found it very valuable. It really kind of aligns with my personal passion for understanding people within their broader context. So for people coming into the program, it's something you might not expect from the get-go, but there's a big emphasis on that, and I think it is really important and applicable in what we do. And then I guess just beyond that, just reflecting the opportunity to sort of self-reflect and grow professionally is really exciting. And I think just having this opportunity to be with fellow peers in an OT community and then out in the practice settings as well, it helps you kind of reflect on the OT that you want to be after the program. So those are all things that I've really enjoyed so far.
Great, thank you so much. Yeah, that's really nice to hear, actually. Yeah, and yeah, you're coming towards, although you're not quite there, towards the end of your first year, so you've still got a bit more to go.
No.
But really kind of already how much you've gained just in the time you've been with us. So that's lovely to hear.
Yeah, we're in our third trimester, so we're almost halfway done, which is crazy. I will say it goes very fast. They're not kidding when they say that.
We say it a lot, but I think it still always surprises people just how fast it does go once you get started.
It really does. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then I suppose, yeah, do you have any kind of tips or suggestions for students who might be thinking about coming to join us in terms of kind of what you found helpful or what's worked for you or things you've learned along the way?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think I would say I'm coming at it from an international student perspective. So I think one of the biggest things would be don't hesitate to reach out for support. GCU has a ton of resources, a ton of people who are very keen to help. And I think most people really want you to feel at home. And I'm sure people that are local students as well feel the same. There's just a lot of support for students, a big focus on your health and well-being, obviously being an allied health profession. There's a focus on that within the program as well. So that is very good to know. And I think something to keep in mind as you embark on this journey. Mm-hmm. One thing I wanted to say too is I think just taking time to build connections with your peers once you're in the course, and really practice embodying the values of the OT profession as a student in the classroom with your classmates will build that really strong student community that I think everyone appreciates and looks for when they come to school in this type of setting. So I think what you put into those relationships and sort of how you approach learning at this stage is what you'll really get out of it at the end of the day. And I think I really personally like being part of such an international community. I love the diversity. I love hearing from people from different backgrounds and life experiences. So I think that makes the learning environment better and stronger in a lot of ways. So yeah, just staying open to that would be probably my biggest tip. And then I think over and above that, also just staying organized and be kind to yourself.
Yes.
It is a master's program, so there is work involved, but it's rewarding work. So I think if you can kind of keep that as your North Star as you're going through it, do your best to just enjoy every moment, because it does go really, really quickly.
Yeah. I would agree, and because I did the master's pre-registration myself just a bit longer ago than you're doing it, but yeah, and
Yeah.
found the same of like it goes really fast, but it's hard work, but it is rewarding, and it also just lets you get out into the workforce and actually start your careers as occupational therapists, which is really exciting. It goes quickly, but then yeah, just that ability to actually kind of get through it and have all your placements in quite a short space of time, and then actually get out and apply all that in your first job is really exciting. And some nice things that you said there. But I think that you mentioned about kind of learning about your own health and well-being through the course, and that's something that I think I see come across a lot. And I remember myself, studying occupational therapy, of everything we're learning about other people, but you can also apply it to yourselves and kind of loved ones as well. And so you learn an awful lot about just your own life as well as kind of how to help other people. And I think it's a really journey to be honest. It's nice hearing you kind of reflecting on that. So thanks.
Yeah, I think that's a big highlight as well, is just the opportunity to self-reflect feels really big, especially being on placement when you're spending time sort of reflecting on your day and what you've seen and how that translates to your learning objectives as a student. So that's a really good opportunity too. I feel like I've learned a bit more about who I am and maybe what I value and where I see myself fitting in. So I really like the self-reflection aspect of that as well.
Nice. And I don't know if you've experienced this, but I know I did, and I see other people experiencing it as well. But sometimes people come in thinking they know what area they want to work in, where they want to go as an occupational therapist, but actually then once you start learning and it opens out to you, you see how diverse it is, and then suddenly realizing there's so many more places you could imagine yourself working, which is really exciting, of just how diverse that can go.
Yeah, I agree. I sort of feel the same about, you got to stay open-minded. And I think when you get out on placement, you see so many things maybe you didn't expect, or you have questions that you didn't see coming. And I know probably a lot of the people on this call have done this as well, but just sort of volunteered in their communities or have some exposure to OT, so they have an idea of what it is. But I think once you're actually on placement and learning, there's so much more to learn. And that's kind of what makes it exciting as well, is just the amount of opportunity that there is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just going to go, just because I keep looking at that picture of Glasgow that's on the screen as well. And I think personally, I mean, I'm from Glasgow, so I am biased, but I do think it's a great city to live in. There's loads of interesting stuff to do. It's a really kind of vibrant city. It's really fun. But also one of the things I personally love about it is the fact that there's also countryside just not far away. There's lots of green spaces. So I think kind of whether you're used to city life or something a bit more rural, I think it kind of offers a mixture of experiences. So I don't know if you would if you've the chance to enjoy what Glasgow has to offer yet, but that's...
Yeah, no, definitely. I would agree. I mean, Laura's from here, so I think she knows a lot more about the country and the landscape. But I mean, I've been here since January of this year, and I feel like I've been able to get out and explore, and I feel like I've only just scratched the surface. So I think from like a personal perspective, it's nice to be in a spot where it's easy to kind of get out of the city and learn more about where you are. There's lots of fun things to do. There's always stuff going on. And like Laura said, I think there's sort of a scene for everybody, and the access to nature is really incredible. I will say the trains are great. So you can really get out there and travel on the trains, which is such a nice thing as well if you're a student.
Yeah, you can get around, and Scotland is quite a small country, depending where you're from, but you being from Canada, it's quite a small country really, and the trains to get around and see quite a lot in a short space of time is
yeah, it's fabulous. You can do a lot of weekend trips as well when you have the time. So
yeah.
I will say that as well. I think keeping that in mind when you're studying, and kind of making sure to balance your studies with some things that you're looking forward to, some fun things. And there's a lot that Scotland has to offer in that regard. So it's a great place to be when you're studying as well.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So we're more than happy to take any questions. I'm not I'm sort of trying to keep an eye, but I am having to do this on my phone today.
I think we've just lost her. She'll be back in a wee second, I imagine. We've just had another
Did we lose her?
I think we may have.
Okay.
I think what she was just going to say is we're more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. So if you have any more, if you just pop them into the chat, there's a public chat, and you can ask any questions about the admissions process, about what it's like to live in Glasgow, be a student here. Really use this opportunity as your time to speak to the programme leader, who obviously knows all about the course and the admissions process, but also from a student who is potentially where you're going to be very, very soon.
And I'm hoping I'm back. Apologies if I dropped out there. Can you? Are you able to hear me?
Yep, you're all good. I can hear you. We've had a question.
And also, I've not been able to see my own camera because I have had to do this on my phone, and I've just realised you've probably just been seeing half my face.
No. You were fine. It was clear as day. Don't you worry. We could see you.
Grand.
We have had a question in that says, hi, is it common for students to be sent to places far outside Glasgow for placement?
So it is something we do get offers from across Scotland, and we do have to look at trying to use those opportunities for placement in other parts of the country. What I will say is we tend to, where we can, look for volunteers first. So sometimes we get people that are really keen to go and see a particular part of the country. But then, yeah, so we do kind of look at personal preferences and sort of who's available to go and move kind of further afield. And there's sometimes really good opportunities if you are able to kind of travel or move slightly further away for a placement. You can get a really great experience in different settings. But we do get an awful lot of offers in not necessarily Glasgow, but Glasgow is based within the kind of the busy central belt of Scotland. So there's a lot, and like Linnea said, there's great kind of trains and there's lots of public transport available. So it's quite easy to get places outside of Glasgow and not travel too far, but get to another kind of town or city nearby. So we do try and use placements closer to home where we can. What we tend to look at is the full-time placements, so the two that happen over the summer periods. They're maybe the ones where we might utilise more further away placements compared to the ones where you're having to be on campus a day a week. So we do try and kind of look at how we balance that. So yeah, it does happen that we do have students sort of travelling for placement, or some do move away if there's a particular opportunity available for them. What I should also have said is for the final placement, in the second year, the final full-time placement that's 9 weeks, there's also the opportunity there potentially for international exchange. So we do get some students able to do that placement outside of Scotland. So that is the only one that we're able to do just based on kind of logistics of when the placement's run. But we have had students this particular summer, we had students do their placement in Canada, we did a number in Ireland, and we did also have somebody go to Australia for placement as well in that second year. So there are opportunities for that if you're interested, but that is a voluntary basis. That's not, we wouldn't be making anybody go outside of Scotland if they weren't able to. So hopefully that helps to answer that question there, and we're more than happy if you've got more questions, we're happy to try and answer them.
We've had one more come through. It says, hi, are students examined through continuous assessment / assignments / exams, or a mix of everything?
So yes, it's a bit of a mix. It doesn't, so for the academic modules, it doesn't tend to be continuous assessment. It does tend to be kind of, there's 1 or 2 pieces of coursework or an exam and a piece of coursework. But there's lots of support and preparation to get you ready for whatever that looks like. The placements are different. That's more of a continuous assessment approach, although there is still a kind of a formal report that's completed collaboratively by you and your practice educator. But yeah, for the academic modules, it's more kind of one bigger piece of coursework. And I mean, I know this is more kind of factual stuff, but Linnea, if you want to chip in on anything, please do feel free, because I know that the approach to assessment is maybe different from what you might have experienced before, but I think hopefully we do try and really prepare, so even when it is one bigger piece of coursework, that students do feel kind of prepared and aware of the expectations of them before they come to actually submit whatever it is.
Yeah, I would agree. I do feel that there's a lot of discussion around what the assignments are. And I think particularly in that first trimester, we got a lot of clear communication around what was expected of us. So that kind of set the stage, and it was really helpful when we actually got to the assessment because we were very clear on what was expected. And there is lots of support along the way as well. You can ask questions to the module leaders. And they're very responsive and open, and that's also really helpful. And then the school has a lot of resources as well if you have like really specific questions about research or essay writing. So I would agree. I think there's a diversity of assessments, but you're well prepared.
Good. And it is, so even if it is a bit different to how maybe you were assessing your undergraduate, it's, you know, still, I think, you know, hopefully there is that support to do it. And you're right that there are other, so there's support within the occupational therapy lecturing team, but also within our library service. Our librarians are great at helping with how to access resources. And we've also got a fantastic learning and development centre. So they do sessions within the programme. So we bring them in to do sessions on kind of academic writing and expectations of that. And you can also book in, you know, to do workshops or sessions with them yourself if that's something that you kind of feel you need additional support with. So there is lots of support available to prepare for assignments.
Thanks, guys. So we did have another question come through, but it was specific to a personal like admissions situation. So I've just reached out and asked if they can contact our admissions team directly about that. Another one that we had to come through in that time was I have applied already and have a place to start in January. I just wondered when information regarding classes and timetables, etc., will be sent out.
Sure. So that's fabulous. That was great that you're thinking about joining us in January. So look forward to that. So my colleague, Rowena Harrison, she is our year one coordinator. So although I'm the programme leader, so I'm kind of responsible for the overall programme, we have year coordinators, so individuals that you get to know within each year of the programme. And so Ro does an awful lot in terms of helping to prepare for you coming and starting the programme. So there will be some general central university communications coming out, but in terms of some of that specific stuff that you're asking about, Ro will start sending out emails probably kind of from maybe about a month's time. We might start trying to get that sorted. So maybe kind of mid-November, Ro will start sending out emails to those that were expecting to join us in January. And there'll be information in there about kind of what to expect in terms of timetabling. You know, we often get questions about kind of any books that you need to maybe buy or have access to. And what we say is there's no set textbooks for the programme. We use different books at different points, but we do have a list of kind of recommended books if anybody's interested. So Ro will send that out, and any other information that we think you need to know about kind of at that point in time. So you will start to get that coming out probably in about a month's time. You start getting that information coming to you, but you might well be getting some central things from the university as well in advance of that, just to help you get prepared. But yeah, we do try and be in touch with you and communicate with you, and you can respond to those emails from Rowena when they come out if you have questions or whatever, so that you can hopefully be prepared and know what to expect before you come to join us in January. So, and then we do have an induction week in January as well. So before the sort of formal teaching starts of the modules, we have a week of induction where we go through lots of kind of important sort of basic information, but there's also time in that week to start getting to know your classmates as well. So we do a range of different activities in induction week just to help people get settled in, just get time to get established, start getting to know us, getting to know each other, and just getting some of that kind of basic stuff about just finding your way around, how to access resources, all that kind of stuff before the actual proper teaching starts later on in January. So hopefully that helps. If I've not answered anything, please you know, let me know. Please do ask any more. And Hannah, I'll maybe get you to check. Sorry, the chat's not quite working for me, so I'm not sure if there's anything else. Or Linny, if you've got anything more.
That's okay, I'm on it. Let me have a little
Great.
look. I do have a notification. Okay, so this is a question about CAS, so not sure if this is a question you can answer. I'm an international student from Canada joining in January. I'm wondering when we can expect to receive CAS to get the student visa application started. So this is probably one that I can answer, Laura, but it's entirely up to you. So our CAS starts getting released essentially in batches, and our CAS team are working through them essentially. So you should hear something relatively soon. We don't have a time frame on that just now though. So just keep an eye kind of on your emails, and they'll ask for any additional documentation or anything that you need.
And my understanding of that, but correct me if I'm wrong, is that it's done in terms of the order that deposits are paid. So the sooner you pay your deposit, the sooner you are to get that information. So
yes,
yeah, if that helps. And I know that can be a process to go through, that, but it is achievable.
We don't have any other questions in just now, so I'll do a bit of a final call just to see if there's anything else that anybody would like to ask before we start to kind of wind down the call.
I think just great to see that there's people here and questions being asked, and the contact details are still there. So if there is in particular about the programme, feel free to email myself or the admissions email address that's there specific for OT. But equally, I know Hannah, there's the general inquiries desk as well, if it's more about kind of the admissions process. But we're happy to help.
We've had another question come through. So for PVG applications, do we need to do this before we start? If so, does the university initiate this to be done?
So we will help you with the PVG process, which for anybody that doesn't know, it's protection of vulnerable groups. So it's your criminal background check process. So you do need to have that in place before you go on placement. So that is, if you were starting in January, that'll be kind of next May, June time that you would need it in place by. So we help you with everything that's required for that, and we kind of tell you what's needed from you. We've got an excellent administrative support, Deborah, who helps us with all of that. So you will be guided on what you need to do for that. The only thing that you might need to look at is if you are coming from outside of Scotland as part of your sort of visa process. I think you might need to provide some sort of criminal background check from the country that you're coming from, but that information should be sent out to you with that information. But yeah, we will help you in terms of the actual kind of Scottish system that you need to register with. We'll help you with that once you get started. So you don't need to worry about that for now.
Perfect. We've had another question come through. I would like to know the variety of clinical placements available. Are there any placements involving neurology, for instance?
Oh yes, there's definitely neurological placements. There are all sorts. It's always too big a list to tell you. Yes, we get them across in hospital settings. They can be really any kind of inpatient setting. So we can have quite sort of medical, orthopedic, neurology, neurosurgery, stroke, older adults, children, so across kind of paediatric services, and then outside of hospitals. I mean, that's not even exhaustive. And I'll maybe get Linnea to say where she's been so far, but outside of that, you can be in GP practices, you can be in community teams, so it could be community mental health teams, more kind of physical rehabilitation teams for different age groups, or then kind of any sort of charitable organisation that works with any group. So it's really vast. We have a huge range. So I don't know, Linnea, you've only had 2 so far, but what have they been? The one that you're on?
Yeah, there's such a wide variety, and I think one of the nice things is most people in your cohort will be in different places. So when you do get together and you do see them, you can kind of share your experiences and get a feel for what else is out there. But so far I've been on a community placement with older adults, which was really amazing. And right now I'm in the oncology ward at Queen Elizabeth. So that's been a totally different experience, an acute placement, and I still have 2 more to go. So I'm sure I'll learn new things at those as well. Just a wide variety, to be honest.
Yeah, and it is. And so our accreditation with the Health and Care Professions Council, so that's the one that at the end allows you to work as a registered occupational therapist in the UK. They do have requirements that the 4 placements are across it's predominantly across different client groups, but also trying to have it across a range of settings. So each of the 4 will be different in some way. So you can expect a range of different experiences. And I think, like we were saying earlier, it's, you might think, what kind of area you want to work in, but actually often that opportunity to go elsewhere, it opens up your eyes to other things. So yes, we have a really wide range, kind of anywhere that you could imagine an occupational therapist working, plus some is kind of what we can expect in terms of the range of settings that we have. So hopefully that helps. But yeah, a real range.
Okay, so we had a question come through to say, once an offer has been made, does a deposit need to be paid to confirm enrolment? So your deposit has to be paid by the deposit deadline, which for January programmes is for the majority of regions the 7th of November. This is only different for Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand and Vietnam. Their deposit deadline is 28th of November. All of this information can be found on our website. If you just type in deposit into the search bar or application deadlines, all the key dates and deadlines will come up for January 2026 application cycle. The final CAS issue date for the majority of regions is the 17th of December, which might kind of help one of the other questions that we had earlier on as well. So I hope that kind of answers your question around that. We also had another question come through to say, do we need to provide immunisation records before starting in January?
Yes, another good question. Good, you're thinking about all the practicalities. This is good. You're thinking the right things. So yes, you will, once you have got your offer and you're kind of signed up to coming to join us, if it was in this coming January, then at some point in the run-up, you will get an email from our occupational health service. I'm trying to remember what it comes through under. Sorry, I think it's sort of PAM OH Health or something to that effect that the email comes through from. And that's a health screening form. So yes, within that you will have to put in any immunisations that you've had so that they can look at, is there anything additional that you might need before you're able to go on placement. So that is part of the entry to the programme, is a health screening, just to make sure you've got everything in place to stay fit and well when you're on placement. And they will also ask for any kind of other relevant health information about yourself. That is then, we have a separate occupational health department. So as the teaching staff, we don't get access to that personal information. We just get a kind of summary if there's anything we need to know about. So please don't be put off if you're having to disclose any kind of health condition. All that means is, if needed, they will let us know if there's particular adjustments we need to put in place to help you be able to succeed on the programme. So it's not about preventing you from coming to study with us, it's about just us being aware so we can help and support you in the right way. But for most people, it's just about the immunisations and making sure you've got that in place. And then, yeah, occupational health will arrange for any immunisations to take place if there's anything that you don't have that is required for going out into health and social care.
Perfect. So another question we've had through is there an MSc Occupational Therapy specific scholarship that students can apply for?
Yes, for international students, I believe there's the International Ambassador Scholarship.
Yeah, so what I would say is, for all scholarship and funding inquiries, if you go onto the website again, you can type in scholarships and that will bring up all the information for that specific team. You can then send them an email across and just ask for a list of scholarships that you would be eligible to apply for. So that might help answer your question as well.
Yeah, thank you. Great, it's good. We've had lots of questions. It's great to see. For anything else, anybody got any more questions you'd like to ask while we've got the chance? And apologies again for the late start, but still we've been able to make use of our time. I'm glad that you hung on and to hear and ask your questions, so that's great.
So I don't see anything else coming through. We'll hang about for another couple of minutes just to see if anything else comes through.
If you come along, thank you for coming. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your questions. Please do, if you've got anything else, pop it in the chat. But if not, I hope this has been helpful in helping you make your decision. And I suppose I just want to say thanks to Hannah for organising, but also big thanks to Linnea for taking the time out of placement to join us. I think it's been really interesting to hear your experience so far, Linnea. So thank you for joining us. I think it's important to hear not just from me, but from somebody that's actually kind of going through it right now. So
of course,
perfect.
no, happy to help.
Great.
We just had a little one come through, but it was just a lovely wee thank you. Kind of on that note, I just want to say a big thank you as well to Laura and Linnea also for their time today and for a really great presentation, for answering all your questions so thoroughly as well. So as I mentioned previously when we first came onto the call, the session has been recorded and will be emailed out to all attendees along with a link to the presentation slides. If you have any further questions, I know Laura has put up the admissions team contact details for occupational therapy and her own email address as well as programme leader. We can also answer any kind of admissions and general kind of questions or any questions about the university if you just email inquiries@gcu.ac.uk and someone from the team will get back to you. We really hope to see you all for your induction, where you will get to meet Laura and the rest of the team in person. So I know, Laura, you've kind of given your thanks and said a kind of final few words, but is there anything else that you would like to say before we kind of close the call down?
No, I think just exactly what you said. I really hope that's been helpful, and I hope to see some of you joining us on the programme, whether it's this January or in future year. And if you do, yeah, I will see you on day one. So looking forward to it, and all the best with your planning and decision making.